feel like that scene was in there just to put a sex scene in.
Yeah, she didn't have to be the one to tell him this.
Yeah, there was no point in that scene. Hey, watchers, we're watching whatever. I'm Nathan.
Danny.
We're here today with House of the Dragon. So I have not seen this, but Danny has. Danny. So a little bit of history. Danny is the one who got our friend group into Game of Thrones, right? He's the one who introduced it to us, and we started watching it. We fell in love with it, and
good times.
You know, those were great. We would meet up at our friend's house, our friend Richard, his house, every Sunday to watch Game of Thrones, order food, and just have fun there. And I loved the show, but the final couple of seasons were a real letdown, especially the last season and the last few episodes, right? It was just a horrible letdown for me. And so when I heard about House of the Dragon being made, it really killed that excitement in me because of thinking back on, Game of Thrones, the end of it. So it was one of those, should I watch it? Should I not watch it? Do I really even care anymore? But I've heard some good things about the show. So I'm deciding to give it a try here. Right. I'll watch it. I'll check it out because I did like Game of Thrones initially when they started. And I'm hoping with House of the Dragon, they'll kind of keep it in that format the way they had done it before they got lazy at the end. I'm not going to really ask Danny about anything here because, again, he's seen both seasons already, so he knows what's going on with it. So this is just going to be his reaction, my reaction and review about, our reaction and review about the show, but my general, first-time reaction for this. So, House of the Dragon, episode 1. I don't really know anything about the show except that it's supposed to be more about the Targaryens, right? I think that's what it is. Targaryens, or at least it's like a prequel. That's what I know for sure.
Yeah,
but otherwise,
it's a prequel focusing on the Targaryens.
Okay, yeah. So that I did hear about that then. But that's really all I know about the show. So it's now I'm getting a little bit excited again just because since I'm starting it, there was always that curiosity about it. So we're gonna check it out. But before we get started here, everyone on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let me know about your thoughts about Game of Thrones, about House of the Dragon. Maybe if there's a comparison you had to which one you think was better or which one they did better. Your preference. I've read all the books so far on Game of Thrones. Of course, it'll probably be another 30 years before the next book comes out if he doesn't die. So, who knows how his actual vision of the ending will be. But I'm excited to get started on this now. If you want to check us out on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/watchingwhatever. And you can follow along with us with your own copy of this show, which is available on Max. And for our Patreon subscribers and viewers, we thank you very much for being here with us. And we greatly appreciate your support. So we're going to start the show.
As the first century of the Targaryen dynasty came to a close, the health of the old king, Jaehaerys, was failing. In those days, House Targaryen stood at the height of its strength. But tragedy had claimed both his sons, leaving his succession in doubt. So, in the year 101, the old king called a great council to choose an heir.
Visually looks pretty epic right now.
Yeah.
Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, the king's eldest descendant, and her younger cousin, Prince Viserys Targaryen, the king's eldest male descendant.
Weren't all the Targaryens inbred though?
All? I think they.
Or
We'll talk about that.
The Prince Viserys Targaryen be made Prince of Dragonstone.
Rhaenys, a woman, would not inherit the Iron Throne.
That name sounds familiar. Was his name mentioned in Game of Thrones?
That intro was pretty dope, right? It felt like almost like Lord of the Rings or something.
Yeah, it had that epic feel of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the whole? There's no opening credits?
I can't remember if the first episode has it or not.
172 years before the Mad King.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes back a ways.
Yeah. Dude, they really like went pretty epic on like dragon flight and stuff, man.
Yeah. Although
Yeah,
the CG, the background CG was a little cheesy though.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done better with that, but the dragon looks pretty cool. But nothing will beat that fat dragon from Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Silence.
Welcome back, Princess.
Technically, that's a wyvern, not a dragon.
Huh.
Because dragons have actual arms. Wyverns have the claws on their wings.
Huh. Maybe that's just the drag. What's considered a dragon in this world?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. But if
right,
when you look at
technically
lore and technicality,
right.
it would be like if you play D&D, that would be considered a wyvern.
Huh.
Yeah, dragons are supposed to have wings. Their wings separated from their arms and legs.
You will lie in this bed soon enough, Rhaenyra.
I'd rather serve as a knight and ride to battle in glory.
We
She
have
does-
royal wounds, you and I.
She doesn't want to be like the little princess doll.
Childbed is our battlefield. That's sad.
Rhaenyra, you're late. King's cupbearer must not be late.
Your Grace, at Prince Daemon's urging, the Crown has invested significant capital in the retraining and re-equipping of his city watch.
Shall we discuss the heirs tournament, Your Grace?
Before the games are over, my son will be born. There's a boy in the Queen's belly. I know it.
We passed through the Red Keep's gates at first light.
Does my father know he's here?
No.
Good.
That Iron Throne looks a little bit different.
Yeah. I think it's close to what the book version is supposed to look like.
So that's Daemon, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I brought you something.
He looks like an elf.
Yeah. He really does, though.
Yeah.
But I think like
Valyrian steel.
the Targaryens, like from when I read the book, they feel like they're like elves of this world. Like the book version of the Targaryens reminds me of the Tolkien like elves.
No, he especially looks like an elf.
Yeah. Did you feel anything in that scene?
I mean, we know the history of the Targaryens, so it felt like he has some attraction to his niece there. Plus,
You're worried
if
your father is about to overshadow you with a son.
even if a son is born, if he marries her, he can still fight for the throne.
I want to fly with you on Dragonback, see the great wonders across the narrow sea and eat only cake. Where are you going?
Home. The hour has grown late.
Oh, that's a tree.
Is it healing?
It has grown slightly, Your Grace. Can you say
Ooh.
yet what it is?
Cauterization would be a wise course of treatment, Your Grace. It will be painful.
Fine. Fine.
There's a mysterious wound
Yeah,
sitting
some
on
wound
the
or
Iron Throne.
some kind of disease or something.
Has there been any word from your dear brother?
Not since I named him commander of the City Watch.
The tourney, to celebrate the firstborn son that we presently do not have.
The dream. It was clearer than a memory. Our son was born wearing Aegon's iron crown.
This is the last time. I've lost one babe in the cradle, had 2 stillbirths and 2 pregnancies ended well before their term. But I've mourned all the dead children like her.
All to get an heir. She went through all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's her
Dang.
duty, I guess.
not just hers, but during you know, even in our own history, it was always about an heir, whether it's Europe or Korea or wherever. Man, he just looks like an elf, man. They should have just made him an elf. He doesn't, except for his hair, he doesn't give off that Targaryen impression.
I think it's because he has no eyebrows.
What? Oh, what the hell? Oh, dude. Oh my gosh. Wait, so why are they doing this?
You know, he's charged with cleaning up the city, and so they're like punishing. They're
getting
basically
rid of
being
the-
like
The poor and the riffraff?
like judge, jury, and executioner for.
Gosh, man. Hey, fellow watchers, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check us out on our Patreon. Links are in the description below. And now back to our program.
You are to explain your doings with the City Watch. The City Watch is not a sword to be wielded at your whim.
The Watch was enforcing the Crown's laws. Wouldn't you agree, Lord Strong? Do you want them mugged, raped, murdered?
Yeah, it's the eyebrows. Is that... What's his name? Rhys?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. I thought it was him.
Lady Rhea is your wife, a good and honorable lady of the Vale.
I can assure you, the sheep are prettier.
Any further performances like last night's will be answered. King's Landing has been in decline since my grandmother passed. This new City Watch might be a good thing.
What troubles you, my prince? The king cannot replace you.
I feel like that scene was in there just to put a sex scene in.
Yeah, she didn't have to be the one to tell him this.
Yeah, there was no point in that scene.
Queen Emma has begun her labors.
A mystery knight?
No, a coal of the Stormlands.
I've never heard of House Cole. What do you know about this Sir Kristen Cole, Sir Harry?
I'm told Sir Kristen is common-born son of Lord Dondarrion's steward.
I'd want to try it if it was more modernized, where like it wasn't a real horse, but you know, just a thing you sit on, not actual, not at the actual jousting poles, but like those foam kind of jousting sticks, and then a padded ground so you could fall on something soft.
Right, that actually would be really fun.
Yeah, that would sound fun.
Prince Daemon Targaryen chooses Sir Gawain Hightower of Old Town, eldest son of the Hand of the King.
Daemon's armor looks pretty dope, though.
Yeah, man. Pretty dope.
Yeah, the dragon helm. So he's doing this to pick on the king's hand.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to do that? I mean, I guess if you're the prince, there's not much they can say to you. Oh, she's giving birth.
The infant is in breach, Your Grace. All attempts to turn the babe have failed.
I mean, I don't know the pain of childbirth, right? Obviously, I can tell that it's extremely painful. I will never understand women who want to keep going through natural childbirth.
Right.
What the hell? When did it turn into like an actual life and death battle?
It's been 70 years since King Maegor's end.
What
These
the
nights
hell?
was green as summer grass. None have known real war. Their lord sent them to the tourney field with fists full of steel and balls full of seed. And we expect them to act with honor and grace.
Oh.
There is a chance that we can save the child.
You can save the child.
We must either act now or leave it with the gods.
So for him, he loves his wife, but it would be more beneficial to him to, you know, if it's a son, to save the son, which is a really sad thing.
They're going to bring the babe out now.
Don't tell me they're gonna show it.
They're going to bring the babe out.
I'm making the first incision.
Oh. Oh. Man, don't show it.
Probably would have like passed out already, no?
Yeah, no, like you could only hope that you pass out.
Yeah.
Is it a boy or girl? Oh!
Yield. I was hoping to ask for the princess's favor.
Congratulations, Your Grace. A new heir, Your Grace. Had you and the Queen chosen a name?
Bale.
Did you see that?
What, the dragon?
No, it's not only the queen who, but it was also like a small little like mummified
Oh.
or wrapped up. Yeah.
So the baby died. Oh my gosh. I totally missed that.
So his son lived only a few hours.
Yeah. I thought something was weird when the guy was holding the baby and he was looking off.
Right.
Oh man. To sacrifice your wife to gain your son and then lose that son too.
These recent tragedies have left you without an obvious heir.
The king has an heir, Daemon Targaryen.
Putting Daemon in command of the City Watch was your solution.
A half measure, Your Grace.
Daemon is my brother, my blood, and he will have his place at my court. Daemon has ambition, yes, but not for the throne.
Well, who else would have a claim? Rhaenyra. A girl. No queen has ever sat the Iron Throne. We cannot agree on an heir, then how can we
My
expect
wife and son are dead!
Seriously.
I will not sit here and suffer crows that come to feast on their corpses!
How is his grace?
Very low, which is why I sent for you. I thought you might go to him, offer him comfort.
Sheesh. Is he trying to get an heir?
He'll be glad of a visitor. You might wear one of your mother's dresses.
Is he really like selling out his daughter for a possibility of an heir to the throne?
I mean, this is the Game of Thrones, right? They're all playing.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
Oh,
I even
man.
initially had a thought of something like that, but I kind of just like, I was like, nah. No, nothing's impossible here.
The Lady Alicent Hightower, Your Grace.
I thought I might come and look in on you, Your Grace. When my mother died, people only ever spoke to me in riddles. All I wanted was for someone to say that they were sorry for what happened to me. I'm very sorry, Your Grace.
Yeah, now I know what it is with his face. He has very strong Nordic features and no eyebrows. It's just really like...
Yeah, the no eyebrows I think is what like throws it all off.
Yeah, that really throws it off.
Last night, Prince Daemon bought out one of the pleasure houses on the Street of Silk.
King and council have long rued my position as next in line for the throne.
The gods give just as the gods take away.
He toasted Prince Balon,
To the king's son.
the heir for a day.
Wow.
The evening was, by all accounts, a celebration.
You cut the image of the conqueror, brother.
Did you say it?
I don't know what you mean.
You will address me as Your Grace, or I will have my Kingsguard cut out your tongue. The heir for a day. Did you say it?
We must all mourn in our own way, Your Grace.
You chose to celebrate your own rise! I have only ever defended you! Yet everything I've given you, you've thrown back in my face!
You've only ever tried to send me away to the Vale, to the City Watch. 10 years you've been king, and yet not once have you asked me to be your hand.
Otto Hightower is a more honorable man than you could ever be.
He doesn't protect you. I would.
From what?
Yourself. You're weak, Viserys.
I have decided to name a new heir.
I'm your heir.
Not anymore. You are to return to Runestone and your lady wife at once. When you look at the dragons, what do you see?
I suppose I see us. Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men, but they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
There are power men should never have trifled with. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. You are the very best of your mother.
Daemon is your heir.
Daemon was not made to wear the crown, but I believe that you were.
I, Corlys Velaryon, promise to be faithful to King Viserys and his named heir, the Princess Rhaenyra. I swear this, by the old gods and the new.
I, Lord Hobart Hightower. I, Ormond Baratheon.
There's something else that I need to tell you. Aegon foresaw the end of the world of men. Just to begin with a terrible winter.
I, Rickon Stark.
Stark.
Aegon saw absolute darkness riding on those winds.
I was wondering when they're gonna bring one in.
And if the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. Aegon called his dream the Song of Ice and Fire.
I, Viserys Targaryen.
House of the Dragon. So, it's funny. I was thinking about it earlier. Right? Shogun episode 1. Sweet Home episode 1. House of the Dragon episode 1. None of those I was very impressed with. So, and again, Shogun ended up being fantastic, right? Sweet Home, it still, you know, episode 2 got better, right? I was getting more interested in it, into it. So with this, I'm not gonna lay any kind of judgment yet on it because again, it could change, right? Episode 2 and on can just completely flip around. But for now, I'm not very impressed with the show. The writing, maybe I was expecting too much. The writing felt a little underwhelming.
You mean like the dialogue?
Yeah, the dialogue. Just you know, with Game of Thrones, the dialogue was some of the best parts about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And with this, it just felt kind of there was nothing impressive about the dialogue. That's how I feel. Like even when they're arguing and stuff, you know, it was just kind of like it just felt like just two random people just arguing, you know, or however many random people just arguing and nothing. It didn't feel like there was a lot of any kind of heavy intellectual process put into the writing aspect of it. At least for now. At least for again, episode 1. So I don't know. It could really change. But if I was watching this by myself, I probably wouldn't continue.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If this was something I was like, yeah, you know what, I want to check it out, and I watch episode 1, I'd be like, you know what, I might go to episode 2 to give it a second chance, and after that, if I still felt this way, I'd be like, I'm done, I'm not watching it anymore. Right?
Dang.
Because I mean, it had some crazy shots, but just overall, it just felt so underwhelming to me. Nothing really came out of this to where I was like, yes, you know, I gotta see this and I gotta continue on with it. And again, that could be just me having this high expectation out of it, right?
Right.
You know, so I'm not saying the show itself is bad. It's just my view with how this episode went.
I can't remember how I felt after I watched this this first episode. You know, I watched it with my wife. I think we were doing like 1 or 2 episodes a night until we finished like the whole show. But rewatching this first episode, I mean, I noticed certain things that like, you know, I didn't notice the first time around. But you're right though. Like it isn't something that pulls you in right away. watching it like the second time, I also felt a bit underwhelmed as a pilot episode. I think you see the threads and like the storylines they're setting up and stuff. But I think there's, there are some interesting things like the things that stand out to me in this episode was definitely like the whole idea of like you know, like that this man was obsessed with having like a male heir, and he was willing to sacrifice his wife to have at a chance to have a male heir, right? Because up until like the maester announced it, I mean, it could have been a girl, and he just
Yeah.
sacrificed his wife. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, obviously, like he saved his child, but I mean, if the whole point was to birth an heir, then that was fail, right? But then for this kid to be born a male and kind of, I mean, he got what he wanted, but then a day later the baby dies. I think that's a really really interesting kind of like idea. I also like the idea that he only became like the leader based on a vote, and he won because he's a dude.
Because he's a
Right?
male.
Yeah, because he's a male, right? And then so like this kind of question of succession that's like kind of plaguing this family, right? Since his reign, right? And like his like in any other circumstance, his brother is the heir. That's just how it works, right? He's the oldest male in the family, but because of all the like the conniving and the scheming and all these things, like they don't want him to, and so he ends up making this kind of decision, whether it's rash or not, or whether it was really thought out or not. He chooses his oldest daughter to be the queen, and the repercussions of this are gonna be, basically what the show is about. We got Damon, he's kind of like exiled, kind of exiled, but he's got like a dragon, right? What is he gonna do now? And I think so there are some interesting storylines being set up. And yeah, I mean, like I think that's why I felt intrigued to continue. I think, well, just thinking about it now, like she says, um like our battlefield is like the birthing bed or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I think they literally wanted to show that parallel with the dudes fighting and her like, giving birth or whatever. But then that's too much on the it's too much. Sometimes like when you intercut certain things, or we build the parallel in our mind, but then for her to have said it already and then show it, it feels kind of like they don't like respect our intelligence or something, right?
Yeah, and not only
or
that,
maybe
if they're trying to connect it that way, our battlefield is right. Well, that wasn't a battlefield. That was a tournament where people just went out into a brawl, right?
Right.
So
And I feel like that's why they had the
imagery there
lady
just
say,
didn't connect.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's why that lady had to say, oh, they haven't seen, there's been peace and they haven't seen battle. That's why they're ready for blood or whatever. Like there's too many like lines where it's
They're
kind of
spoon-feeding
spelling
us.
things out for us. Exactly. Yeah.
They're spoon feeding us, so it makes me kind of feel like, hey, you're not that smart, so I gotta break all this down
Right.
to you. Which I'm not saying I'm not smart, but there are certain things where it's like, okay, this is obvious. You don't have to try to, make it simplified more, right? We like the intelligent conversation. We like the I like the thing of, wow, I didn't think about this. Holy crap, I didn't catch this. Like I like that. I don't like this. Okay, now I understand what's going on. Everything's been broken down and fed in here, and now we keep on going with it.
Two things that I wanted to talk about while I was watching this. One, early on, you were talking about how like are Targaryens all inbred, and I'm not like I don't remember from the books or the show whether it was kind of like the whole, and I mean obviously like if we look at like like the Habsburgs or whatever, or like like all the kings and queens throughout European history or whatever, yeah, there's a lot of inbreeding going on,
Yeah.
Targaryens, I feel like maybe like in Valeria, I think I don't remember if they were kind of like a ruling class type people there, but but I think it was like a brother and two of his sisters, and it was Aegon the Conqueror and his two sisters. I can't remember their names right now, Visenya, and I can't remember the other one. But they came to Westeros with their dragons, and everyone was like, basically like, okay,
Yeah.
we bow down to you. We can't stop that, right?
Yeah.
And then he married his sisters. They were like the three of them were like in a marriage together or whatever, and then they birthed all the Targaryens. So their line started definitely with inbreeding, but I think like the way that Game of Thrones and just kind of like a royalty and alliances work, they started marrying off their kids to other people, and kings and queens would marry like people from other families and stuff, and so I don't think they're like, yeah.
I thought I read in the book though that like the heirs were, as far as like the direct heir, that was kept in the family though.
It was always Targaryen and Targaryen.
That's what I remember. And the one that broke that was the one who had married Ned's sister, right?
Rhaegar.
Yeah, Rob's father, Rhaegar.
John's father.
John, sorry, not Rob. John. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
He married a Dornish.
Yeah. He married Dornish, but then he had a son with a Stark, right?
Right.
But from
I don't remember that again. You're probably right. You might be right.
I remember, it was well known in the book that the Targaryens were intermarrying, inbreeding, intermarrying each other. So, which is how they're also able to keep their dragon blood, keep that silver hair and all that kind of stuff, right? Because even in the show, right, Daenerys her brother was trying to like basically get Daenerys to marry him.
Right. Yeah.
So
I gotta look that up then. I want to know if the line all the way down to where we are right now, from Aegon the Conqueror to now, was it all just Targaryen? Like, yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, viewers who are watching, if you're familiar with the lore of of Game of Thrones and with all the books and everything, let us know, because it's been a while since I read the books. It's been a while since Danny's read the books. Been a while since we watched the show, obviously too. So
maybe this is like a decade or something.
Yeah, at least, right? So am I right, or did I misread something there? But
you might
from
be
my
right,
memory,
man.
the Targaryens were basically just kept it in the family. So let us know. Let us know if I'm correct on that, or if I'm incorrect about that information. I really want to know.
That was one thing. So I think you might be right. So I was gonna say that I don't think that's true, but I think you might be right. And then the second thing is like the actors. Like one thing about Game of Thrones was that I feel like people were really kind of attracted to the actors, like you had like Jaime Lannister, you had a Cersei Lannister, you had a Robb and Jon Snow, Daenerys, and then you had like Sean Bean, like the big star, like the people recognize, right? But in this show, like, I don't know, like, do you get that same vibe? Like, do you feel like people were like attracted to these actors? And who is the big name? Is it Otto? Is he the most recognizable person to you in the in this show?
Well, to me, he was, right. Maybe there's some other people who've watched more things, maybe like British television, right? Maybe they've seen some of these other actors. But for me, Otto was
Viserys is actually pretty famous.
Yeah, Otto's I mean, maybe I've seen Viserys' character, maybe that actor, maybe I've seen him in others, but I didn't recognize him. Otto was the only character I recognized.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. So then does that make you feel like, oh, then he's gonna be a really important part of the show, like, because he's like the most famous guy?
Well, that's what I thought about Ned Stark.
Right.
And then they killed him off at the end of season 1. So
right.
But you're right. It didn't have that same attraction for me either. Where I felt I remember when I watched Game of Thrones, I felt something for the characters where I wanted, either someone to win or someone to do this or whatever
Right.
it was, right?
Right.
And I'll say this: when Game of Thrones, my favorite character in the show was Tyrion,
Me too. Yeah.
right? I
He
can't
was
remember
awesome.
his name now. The actor's name was
Peter
what's his
Dinklage?
name? Peter Dinklage. There we go. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Peter Dinklage, right? In the book, my favorite character was Arya.
Me too. Yeah.
And
She was my
when
favorite.
and when watching the show, I felt not a connection, but I felt something with these characters, right?
Right.
With this one, I'm watching it, and really, if something happened to any of them, if, like, let's say they died or whatever, I could care less. Like, I had no feelings of any kind of connection with these characters. Like, it was just literally
Right.
me watching a show, and that was it. Like, if the girl, the main the princess here, if they ended up like she died at the end of the episode, I would, whoa, that's crazy, but I would have no feelings about it.
Right. Well, I mean, it is the first episode, so we haven't had a chance to build that kind of connection to the characters yet. Like, but I think like the end of episode 1 in Game of Thrones, from what I can remember, is when homie pushes a Bran
Yeah.
out the window, and it ends with that. Did you feel like, oh my god, this is so horrible or whatever? Did you have that kind of
I mean,
reaction?
I did, but here's the thing with the connection I'm talking about failing. At that point, I hated Jaime and Cersei.
Ah, okay. Right.
I absolutely
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, they've got to get their come up. Something's got to happen to
Right.
them. So whatever, right? And with Ned Stark, I had this feeling of like, yes, this guy seems really cool. I
Right.
hope he lasts through the show, right? That kind of feeling. That was episode 1. Here, they
that's a
could
good
kill off the
point.
entire cast and bring new people, and I wouldn't care.
Right. You're right. I mean, I read the books after I watched started watching the show. And so but even I remember thinking like in Game of Thrones episode 1, like that relationship between Robert and Ned felt real, right? They
Yeah.
felt like they were lifelong friends. You could feel that like thing. And yeah, okay. And you could feel the love between Jaime and Tyrion. Even though Jaime, you hated him, like he was good to his brother, and you could feel
Yeah.
that kind of like love that they have for each other,
Oh,
And
and
you're
speaking
right.
of,
You're
speaking
that's
of Tyrion,
very true.
Speaking of Tyrion, when they showed him and they introduced him, I was like, dude, this is a cool character, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
liked him from the
Yeah.
start. So yeah,
Right. Right. I feel like we don't really get that sense. Yeah, you're right. There's no, I don't have any like, when I first watched the show, I feel like I had an attachment to Rhaenyra, like the young
The princess?
princess.
Yeah.
I was rooting for her. I felt like she was kind of like the most fleshed out and human. I felt kind of like Viserys is kind of weak. I feel like when Daemon said that, you could like, it really hit home. Like, yeah, dude, this dude isn't like very kingly. He seems kind of
Yeah.
dorky and right. And then I think we're supposed to kind of despise Daemon, but I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. The characters don't hit as hard as they did even from the first episode. Oh, you're right, dude. No, that's a good point. That's a very good criticism. You're right. I agree
yeah. I
with
don't know
you.
what it is,
Yeah.
but there's no attachment to any of the characters for me.
Yeah, I feel like the guy who defeated Damon, Kristen Cole, right? He like do you even remember his name or like anything about
No.
him? Yeah.
So I
think
wrote
we're
down his
supposed
name. He's Dornish,
Uh-huh.
but that's
Right.
it.
He's a yeah. And so I think he's supposed to be badass or whatever, but I don't think we get that sense at all right now. Like,
No.
yeah. That's a very good point. Like, I feel like at the like that's a similar character in Game of Thrones. We would have already been rooting for this dude to either beat Daemon or whatever, or that's a very good point. And like because like we're like, I don't know where my alliance is supposed to be or my allegiance in terms of character. Like it didn't really matter who won between Daemon and Sir Cole or whatever,
Yeah.
Like that's a very good point, man. Yeah. Like that's that's very valid, I think. Yeah, I was thinking like one thing that they did do interesting was kind of bookending the episode. Like the beginning, you see a woman lose to a vote, and then at the end, you see a woman kind of, at least being officially named. Like
Yeah.
it's just never happened before, right? It's never happened before, and so
Yeah.
That's one thing that might be the most like cool thing that they did in this whole whole show without explicitly stating to us that that's what's happening or whatever, you
Yeah.
know.
Without someone popping up,
Yeah.
going, remember at the beginning when we showed the woman lost?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So many like I mean that's not just like this show. So many shows do that to you in movies too. Like when they use like flashbacks and things like there's never been a flashback in the whole movie and all of a sudden at the very end they use a flashback to try to remind us, hey, remember this? Like, dude, come on, man. Like
Yeah.
get out of here, you know?
I hate those. I mean, I understand when it's
Yeah.
a flashback to explain something we've never seen.
Right.
But when it's
Right.
one of those, and one thing is, let's see, Korean dramas do that a lot.
Oh, right.
A
They do that.
lot. So
Right.
many
I remember you were
flashbacks
joking about how
over
they
and
do
over.
they do a flashback from the same episode.
Yeah.
I
It's
was
just
dying
like,
laughing when you said that. Oh man.
it's
That's
literally
funny,
something
dude.
at the beginning of the episode, and then like towards the middle or the end, you see the flashback at the I'm like, what?
That's really funny, man.
So,
Oh, dude, I was dying.
but yeah. But yeah, anyway, viewers, please let us know your thoughts. You know, I mean, please don't hate on me because of how I feel about the show right now. Again, it could change later on. This is just how I
Right.
feel about episode 1 right now. It's making me feel, you know, it's and I'm entitled to how the way I want to feel. But in all seriousness, I since I have heard good things about it, I am expecting it to pick up and get better. But let us know your thoughts. What did you think about episode 1 when you first saw it? Are there any characters that you were, you felt a connection to or had some type of an emotional attachment to, or were you kind of like me where you just didn't care about any of them at this point?
Crazy.
Anything else you want to put in the comments there? Anything that I might have gotten wrong here when I talk about it? Again, the thing about the Targaryens and their intermarrying. Let us know about that. Please remember to like and subscribe. Leave us your comments in here. Our Patreon viewers, thank you very much for your support, and we will all see you next time on episode 2 of House of the Dragon. Bye.
Thank you.